Imagine a tech giant, a titan of industry, with offices buzzing with innovation and profits soaring into the stratosphere. It seems invincible, a permanent fixture in our modern world. Now, picture that same company just a few years later. Offices empty, servers cold, a ghost of its former self. A complete collapse. It seems sudden, shocking, but it happens. What if I told you that entire empires, civilizations that spanned continents and lasted for centuries, can vanish in the same way? That's the story we are exploring today. The story of power, glory, and the inevitable fall. Why do even the mightiest empires crumble into dust? We'll journey through the pages of Indian history to find the answer, looking at three colossal powers that once ruled the subcontinent: the Mauryan Empire, the Mughal Empire, and the British Empire. Each rose to unimaginable heights, and each met a dramatic end, leaving behind lessons that echo to this very day. Let's travel back over 2,000 years to the Mauryan Empire. At its zenith under the legendary Emperor Ashoka the Great, this was an empire of incredible prosperity and peace. Imagine vast, unified lands stretching from modern-day Afghanistan to Bangladesh. Trade routes flourished, art and architecture reached new heights, and Ashoka, after his famous conversion, spread the principles of peace and dharma, building stupas and pillars that still stand as monuments to his vision. It was a golden age, a testament to what a unified, well-governed state could achieve. But even gold can tarnish. The very size of the empire became its weakness. It was just too vast, too sprawling to be managed effectively from a single center. After Ashoka's death, a series of weaker successors took the throne. They lacked his charisma, his vision, and his administrative genius. Factions began to rise, and distant provinces started to drift away. On top of this, the economic strain was immense. Maintaining a colossal army and a sprawling bureaucracy to govern such a large territory was incredibly expensive. The treasury, once overflowing, began to dwindle. The empire, stretched thin and led by incapable rulers, started to crack under its own weight, eventually fracturing into smaller kingdoms. The first great Indian empire had fallen. Now, let's leap forward in time to the 16th century, to the dazzling spectacle of the Mughal Empire. At its peak, the Mughal court was the envy of the world. Think of the Taj Mahal, the Red Fort, monuments of unparalleled beauty and grandeur. Emperors like Akbar fostered a culture of tolerance and intellectual curiosity, blending art, music, and ideas from across their diverse realm. The wealth was staggering, the power absolute. But this glorious chapter also had its final pages written by one of its own. Enter Aurangzeb, the last of the great Mughals. Unlike his predecessors, Aurangzeb was a stern, pious ruler with an insatiable appetite for conquest. He spent decades waging relentless, costly wars in the Deccan, attempting to expand the empire to its absolute limits. These campaigns drained the royal treasury, leaving the state financially crippled. Furthermore, his religious policies were a sharp departure from the tolerance of his ancestors. He reimposed the jizya tax on non-Muslims and destroyed temples, alienating vast swathes of the population, especially the Rajputs and other powerful groups who had once been loyal allies. This discontent boiled over into open rebellion. Powerful regional forces, most notably the Marathas under Shivaji, rose up to challenge Mughal authority. They were no longer just minor rebels. They were a rival power carving out their own empire. After Aurangzeb's death, the empire he had stretched to the breaking point shattered. Weak successors fought amongst themselves, governors became independent kings, and the once mighty Mughal Empire dissolved into a patchwork of warring states, a shadow of its former glory, ripe for a new power to exploit. That new power arrived from across the seas: the British Empire. Initially a trading company, the British East India Company skillfully exploited the chaos left by the Mughals. And by the mid-19th century, the British Raj was the undisputed ruler of the subcontinent. This was an empire of a different kind, built on industrial might and administrative precision. They built railways that crisscrossed the country, established a unified legal system, and commanded a formidable army. From London, they governed a territory of hundreds of millions. To an outsider, the British Raj might have seemed as permanent as the Himalayas. But beneath the surface of order and control, the seeds of its demise were being sown. The first major blow came not from within India, but from Europe. Fighting two devastating world wars in the 20th century, even on the winning side, left Britain economically exhausted. The jewel in its crown, India, was no longer a profitable enterprise but a costly administrative burden. The empire was financially broken. Simultaneously, within India, a fire was igniting. Decades of British rule had fostered a new, unified sense of Indian identity. The desire for self-rule grew from a whisper to a roar. This movement found its voice in leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, whose philosophy of nonviolent resistance captured the imagination of millions and the attention of the world. The British faced an unstoppable force, a population united in its demand for freedom. The Quit India movement, naval mutinies, and relentless civil disobedience made the country ungovernable. Faced with economic ruin at home and an unwavering independence movement in India, the British had no choice. In 1947, the empire on which the sun never set finally lowered its flag over India. So what have we learned from the ashes of these three mighty empires? We see a clear pattern emerge. The Mauryans overexpanded, becoming too big to manage. The Mughals were bankrupted by endless wars and internal division. The British were drained by global conflicts and defeated by the will of the people. Each empire, in its own way, suffered from over-centralization, economic troubles, and a failure to adapt to the changing realities on the ground. They grew too rigid, too disconnected from the people they ruled, and eventually, they broke. But the story of India is not just a story of fallen empires. It is a story of incredible resilience. From the fragments of the Mauryans, new kingdoms rose. From the decline of the Mughals, regional powers emerged. And from the end of the British Raj, a modern, independent republic was born. India has an extraordinary ability to endure, to absorb, and to be reborn, stronger and more vibrant than before. This is a source of immense pride. The lesson from these fallen giants is timeless. It's a warning to the powers of today, whether they are nations or corporations, that no power is permanent, that arrogance and inflexibility are the heralds of decline, and that listening to the voices of the people is not a weakness, but the ultimate key to survival. History's lessons are there for us to learn, and we ignore them at our own peril. Thanks for watching, and if you found this journey through time interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories from our shared past.